Welcome to part 2 of the David Moyes versus Louis van Gaal debate. Make sure you've watched part 1, then come back to this. Welcome, we're back. Squawker Dave, Adam McCullough, you know who both of them are. Let's start now with a point that's being made by loads of people, especially people like the Daily Mail, who love to go, oh, Louis van Gaal spent £150 million. That is nonsense for several reasons. The first being that Falcao might be the most expensive of our signings, and he was a loan. So it doesn't even include him, which is why that's stupid. Secondly, doesn't make any sense because buying in players doesn't mean those players will instantly perform. It doesn't mean it's not like buying Ronaldo for 80 million. You've got one world-class player. You've got to initiate a whole ego of talent into a team that from a foreign. It doesn't make any sense. Squawker Dave, tell us some stuff before I implode.
I think David Moyes couldn't attract anyone of any quality. I think that's where we sort of start with.
His wife will be livid.
If Van Gaal was in charge, when Moyes was in charge, let's say we went straight for Van Gaal.
Yeah.
So we didn't go with Moyes, and the likes of Fabregas was on the market.
Yeah.
The likes of Herrera was still on the market. He didn't come that season.
No.
Gareth Bale was on the market.
Yeah.
Imagine, you know, if you were Gareth Bale and Louis van Gaal sat you down and he spoke to you, you're going to want to come and play with him.
Yeah, he's got a sexy accent.
He does, and I think under Moyes, he spent a little bit of cash and he just couldn't attract the player. And the players that he bought, Fellaini and Mate, he didn't really utilise them.
No, Adam, your opinion on the money?
I think you've got to look at Manchester United have had 14, 15 odd players go out. You look at those players, got a wealth of experience, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra, Ryan Giggs, even the likes of Nani, he had a lot of experience as well. I know he didn't do much for us in his latter years, but he was very experienced. And then we've replaced them with like a new wave of talent, you know, Herrera, Di Maria, Daley Blind, who's been absolutely fantastic. Even the youngsters coming up, McNair, Blackett and so on. We've had this influx of new talent that haven't played together before, that are all new. We needed it. We needed to freshen up and we needed to like have a clear out. That's what we needed from the start, just get rid of some dead wood.
Yeah.
And the change happened too slowly. Louis van Gaal seems to have made that change straight away, got rid of a few players that he didn't want or he didn't feel were good enough. And he's made the decisions and he's brought in players. And I think the players he's brought in has improved the quality of not only our first 11 but also our bench tremendously. Tremendously.
Interestingly, both managers have kept Anderson.
Well, Anderson's apparently going out in Jan, so
which upsets everyone.
He may be one manager who's had too much.
Another difference is one of the very first things David Moyes did, and he told us, or when he was very proud to do it, was give Nani a 5-year contract. Louis van Gaal comes in, ships him straight out. Do you think that's an example of Moyes not being ready for the job and seeing Nani and going like, whoa, this guy is incredible? Because Nani has got a lot of ability, but just no consistency or ability to perform in a game.
I think it just totally pinpoints Louis van Gaal's ruthlessness in the job. I think I was watching Roy Keane versus Vieira when they did that thing for ITV2, and he was asked for one word that summed up Sir Alex Ferguson, and he said ruthless. And that's exactly what Louis van Gaal will do. He'll be ruthless in getting the best for Manchester United, and that's what he's done. I think he's not, I know he's not known the players, so he hasn't got any sentiment towards them, but he's not shown any. He said, right, you're not good enough. Javier Hernandez, you're not good enough. See you later. And he sent them on their way. So that's what we needed. Squawker.
I think the Nani thing was quite interesting because you know he changed. Van Gaal went to Bayern Munich. The likes of Robin, the likes of Ribéry, they were talented, but he changed them. He made them the inside forwards that they are, and he really developed their careers. And look at them now, playing the best team in the world, and arguably two of the best players in the world. You'd say.
No question.
So I think with Nani, if he comes back and Van Gaal can potentially, you know, Nani's gone out, he's had to earn his stripes in a way. He's playing it for in a weaker league, but in the Champions League, he's looked pretty awesome, scoring goals, getting assists. So one of those things, Nani could come back and really sort of open up our season again.
Adam's shaking his head.
Everyone knows that I like Nani, and I've always wanted him to do well. I've liked glimpses I've seen from him, but I just think, you know, he's gone now. Let's just. I've got a feeling if he comes back, he'll just be exactly the same again. And he'll just be all them sides returning to the stands again. And
First game of the season, he'll run all the way down the left, cut in, smash run from 20 yards, and then never do it again to the next year. Okay, so we've talked about the money. I'm just burping, sorry about that. Talked about the money that's been spent and that perhaps that is an irrelevant fact, especially considering, as you pointed out, Manchester United were champions before David Moyes took the team, and then it's been dismantled, so you had to spend money. Let's talk about man management. We touched on it earlier about confidence. How do you see Van Gaal's man management?
I love the way, I put it with Luke Shaw, for example. He's got Luke Shaw. We tried to play a new formation. That formation didn't help Luke Shaw one bit, I don't think. But he brought in this young talent that was signed for multi-million pounds, 30-odd million, and he's kind of just pegged him back a little bit, said, hold on, you're not good enough yet, you're not fit enough, get fit and you'll get your chance. And Luke Shaw's come back into this team. It may be a coincidence we've changed to 4 at the back, but week in, week out, he's got better and better and better. Yep. And then you look throughout the squad, Wayne Rooney's pulling his weight now. He doesn't seem like, like the Mr. I Am that he maybe was before. Yep. The only concern for me was I thought he'd get more out of Robin van Persie, and which we haven't done yet.
Okay. In terms of Luke Shaw, one thing perhaps in terms of giving him confidence after saying he's not fit was that when Roy Hodgson did the classic Roy Hodgson move of saying, oh yeah, he wasn't fit, we didn't play much at the World Cup. He came out and instantly said, well, I don't know what Hodgson's talking about. He's talking rubbish. He was fit, but we're getting him there.
Yeah.
And that for Luke Shaw, hearing that, it's probably going to make you feel, he's got my back. He's not just having a go at me for no reason.
Sorry, go on.
I think it stamps down the standard of Man United under Fergie. If anyone doesn't play well or goes out for a beer in the early days, he'd get thrown out the team. Gary Neville, there's a quote in his book where he's talking about he had a can of K-cider and got a bit drunk. Got dropped for 6 weeks.
K-cider will get you drunk.
For 6 months.
four of those, you can barely stand.
I think it's one of those things where Luke Shaw, he came and he had this big reputation of being a world beater. Didn't look too good in pre-season, looked a bit unsure of himself. Van Gaal, shot him down.
Yeah.
He's built himself back up, and you've got to give credit to Van Gaal. He's probably shot him down and then he's picked him up slowly. He's rebuilt the lad. And he's probably been our best player in the last few weeks, I'd say.
Okay, another young player, perhaps not showing his best form under Van Gaal, but did under David Moyes, is Adnan Januzaj.
Also got to see, I love the fact that Louis Van Gaal has persisted with him.
You turn into a Churchill dog.
I like that. No, because I was thinking about Adnan and I was thinking, you know what? I've been disappointed with his performances. I have been, but I do think with young players like that, you just need to keep giving them that confidence. Say, look, we've got you here. Don't worry, and you'll get to play eventually it'll come for him. And I like Louis Van Gaal showing that confidence. Paddy McNair, Tyler Blackett, for example, he's still playing them. He could have Carrick and Fletcher at the back and shift around. Let's use experienced players. But no, we're giving youngsters the opportunity, and I love to see that.
Okay, Dave, where do you stand on this? Januzaj in particular, in terms of last season, this season, and then young players.
He sort of scored. Januzaj won us the points at Sunderland. Mm-hmm. He was pretty awesome in another home game, but he wasn't, he's a young player, he's not going to be consistent yet, and that's what we're kind of seeing this season. He's looked very bright in some games, got hauled off at the weekend, Juan Mata came on and looked pretty good. But that was a good decision from Van Gaal. Yeah. You've got to be able to put these players forward, like the likes of Blackett, the likes of Paddy McNair, but you've also got to be able to hold them off. If they're not playing well, you've got to be big enough to do that, and sometimes Moyes didn't do that with Januzaj, he didn't protect him enough.
Do we think that Louis Van Gaal is being braver than Moyes in terms of the young players he is playing, or do you think he just doesn't have any options because our defenders are dying?
I think he's brave. I think Adam made a good point that I think if Moyes was here again this season, he would have gone for the likes of Darren Fletcher and Carrick at the back like he did last season. He played Carrick there for a number of times. Michael Carrick's good enough at centre-back with the ball, but defensively he's not. And I think going for a young lad, why not?
Yeah.
And I mean, that guy Tyler Blackett, that guy Ty, he didn't have the best of seasons at Birmingham City. We still give him the opportunity at Manchester United. Paddy McNair's looking fantastic now. Blackett. And I know it's easy to think that just say they didn't get these opportunities, they might never have had a career at Manchester United, and he's given them the chance to build a career. Not only that, you look at Wilson, Januzaj, Blackett, McNair, David De Gea ain't that old. Even the likes of Herrera and so on coming through, they're not that old. Raphael's quite young still. We've got a nucleus for a good team there. And it excites me.
One thing that I'd like to see, I think Valencia, he's a right midfielder, and he did a job at the weekend playing right back. He won 7 tackles, more than any one player in the Premier League this weekend, but I'd like to see Janko play. I really would like to see Janko. I'd like him to just go, right, okay, he's brilliant when Raphael plays, but he's injury prone in a way. Yeah. And that's what it's shown in the last few years. Janko, give him a chance and let him, rip it up in a way.
Who the hell knows? Okay, what do we think of team selection in terms of the players that they are, not the fact that Louis Van Gaal has Falcao and Di Maria to choose from, but the players they're choosing to play and the ones they're choosing to leave on the bench? What do we think?
The only question marks will be over Robin Van Persie, maybe. Carrick coming back has been fantastic, but that's going into something else. But I mean, I like it. I also like, he used a bit of sense. He thought, okay, we got Michael Carrick back, put Michael Carrick at centre mid, Daley Blind can say centre back, and they were switching and stuff, but they still looked comfortable and happy. And I just think he's picking players on merit and not always on form. He's picking players on merit and form and not reputation. But then you think, why does he keep persisting with Robin Van Persie? But I mean, Robin Van Persie is very, very experienced. He knows everything. He also knows Louis Van Gaal's philosophy, as does Daley Blind. So maybe it's important for him to keep two people that he can go to in games.
Okay.
I'd quite like to see a bit of James Wilson more, but potentially not centrally. On the, he played a number of times for the reserves when I caught him, and he was playing on left wing, and he looked explosive. And I think it's kind of like what Wenger does with strikers. Plays them on the wing for a few seasons, they hit a bit of form, they score some goals, and then he moves them centrally when they've been, they've broadened out a bit, because he looks a bit lightweight. He has looked lightweight, but he's looked good on the ball. So, put him on the left wing.
His looks are very deceiving. Don't you think he's like tall, but he looks strong and he's quite quick. He's proper deceiving.
Boys, closing statements. Adam, you can go first.
Believe in Louis van Gaal.
Dave?
I think under Moyes, as the season progressed, it got worse. He was in 5th after 11 games, but we failed, didn't get into the Champions League. That's where we failed last season. Under Van Gaal, it's looked like progression. It's looked like we're getting better. It's looked like we're going to get there. I think the statement about 3 years is absolutely fine. You look at Fergie, when Mourinho first came to the Premier League, we lost back-to-back championships to Chelsea. 3rd year we came back and we won. It takes time to rebuild a team, and Fergie knew that. We've just got to give Van Gaal the time.
And people saying, oh, Louis van Gaal thinks he's got 3 years. He hasn't got 3. He's not saying give me 3 years to get it right. He's saying we can get Champions League, but give me 3 years to win a title.
Guys, please let us know what you think. Comment below. Do you think that Louis van Gaal's had too long? Do you think he deserves more time? Do you think David Moyes was axed too early? Hopefully nobody believes that, but I'm sure some people do. Right, burping again, sorry about that. Let us know what you think. Write it down below. Subscribe to FullTimeDEVILS. Dave, anything you want to plug?
We've got a lovely FIFA competition coming out on squawker.com soon on the gaming section called Ball Control. So if you want to sign up, UK users only, get on that page and drop your email address in.
Do that, Adam.
That's half of you can't sign up then.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Check out my left foot with Robbo and Coley. Woo!
Brilliant. That's it. Hopefully that puts to bed the Moyes versus Louis van Gaal debate. I'm sure people will still bang on about it though. Have a lovely evening, and that's it really. Bye. But let's talk about tactics that we're seeing from Van Gaal. We've seen a few systems. Dave, what do you think is working best for us?
We've been through a number of systems. We've got the 3-5-2 that we played at the start that I wasn't too keen on. Not enough width up the pitch, and I think United play with width, throughout on the third.